It's time for a look back at our top stories of the week. A tweet about an uncovered sewer hole in New Orleans is getting a lot of attention. The person who made the post says their rideshare driver fell inside. Our Winston Reed reached out to city leaders about what residents call a hazard.
It's a problem about 9 feet deep on Currelec Street in the Marigny neighborhood of New Orleans. An uncovered drainage manhole with only one cone posted beside it.
I would prefer that they show more of a barrier around that, because obviously if you're just seeing a cone, it's kind of difficult to see the manhole unless somebody brings attention to it.
Here you see the passenger side tire of a vehicle less than 2 feet away from the uncovered hole as it travels down Currelec Street. A post on X details how a rideshare driver fell down the hole when assisting someone during a pickup. City officials tell me that a request to cover the sewer hole was made as early as July 3rd, but as of August 2nd, you can see that this sewer hole is still uncovered. James Kennard, the manager of a bed and breakfast in front of the manhole, says he just recently noticed the cone.
It's definitely a safety hazard. We have travelers coming from all over the world, and people go out to have a good time. So, obviously when you're coming back after a good time, you're probably not that aware, but an unopened manhole is obviously not something that should be a concern for people.
We reached out to the Department of Public Works asking about the manhole. The city of New Orleans responded with this statement saying, quote, "We have verified that the issue has been inspected and forwarded to the Department of Public Works for further review and next steps." When I arrived on Currelec Street on the morning of August 2nd, I noticed that the manhole here was uncovered and this small cone was sitting beside it. I reached out to the Department of Public Works, later returned to Currelec Street that afternoon and noticed that the manhole was covered with this large cone and yellow tape attached to it. Reporting in New Orleans, Winston Reed, WWL, Louisiana.
Local leaders say Bayou Lafourche is looking much better after last weekend's oil spill. It's at a point now that the response is set to scale back. Paul Murphy takes us to Raceland.
People who live along Bayou Lafourche in Raceland report slow, steady progress as environmental cleanup crews continue to mop up an oily mess on the water.
Take care of my friend.
James Morgan says conditions have gotten a lot better since Saturday. That's when about 34,000 gallons of oil escaped into the water from a storage tank at the nearby Crescent Midstream facility. But he admits the spill has caused some problems for him and his neighbors.
Just the smell and stuff. Can't fish. Well, I couldn't fish. Hell, that stuff would get all over your bait and hook. You ain't gonna catch nothing,
Friday, local leaders took a boat tour of the impacted areas. The spill left a miles-long oil slick on the bayou from Raceland to Lockport. There is still a noticeable sheen on the water, with some clumps of oil in the absorbent boom stretching across the bayou. Lafourche Parish President Archie Chesson was impressed with the cleanup so far.
I will say the amount of oil left on Bayou Lafourche is minimal, right? A lot of what you're seeing now is the oil that's left in the vegetation. That's going to have to work its way out through flushing operations and through just Mother Nature, right?
Crescent Midstream spokesman Mike Smith said operator error was a contributing cause of the spill.
Our preliminary findings are that there was a valve left open inside of the facility and that crude oil was allowed to escape in that way.
Crews continue the cleanup on the bayou and in the drainage ditch where the oil first appeared. The spill is blamed for the death of some aquatic wildlife. There were also some oil ducks and one alligator.
The amount of progress that the workers have made is outstanding. Having said that, there is much left to do.
The maintenance operations are going to be here for a while, and I'm happy about that.
They clean it up, but they never get it all.
The on-site unified command set up to oversee the cleanup is now expected to stand down and go virtual by the close of business today. And local officials certainly see that as a sign of progress on the water. On Bayou Lafourche in Raceland, Paul Murphy, WWL, Louisiana.
It's a problem Plaquemines Parish viewers have been calling us about for a long time. The continuing issues that plague the animal shelter in Belle Chase. Our Meg Ferris explains what's being done.
The homeless pets in the shelter in Plaquemines Parish Yorkers who care for their every need are hot.
It is a little warm, but we're taking those short-term kind of solutions to try to make it a little bit cooler for the pets as well.
Today's sweat and panting started many years ago after construction.
Within 2 or 3 years, we had major issues with the HVAC system in particular, and just general construction of the building. The building started deteriorating pretty quickly.
He says there are foundation problems and the poorly designed AC was never efficient. So 10 years ago, Plaquemines Parish sued the contractor, consultants, and insurance company. They finally settled just 2 years ago. But the payout was $2 million short of the original cost. So the parish and Louisiana SPCA that runs the shelter are working together on short-term and long-term solutions.
Right now, we are trying to repair the AC as quickly and efficiently as possible. And if repairs aren't possible, then we are exploring those other options of looking into different places to house the animals.
But a 5-ton unit has been put in place, and it is running on the left side where the dog kennels are, where some of the dog kennels are.
Where will that money come from to build a whole new building?
We'll have to find it from somewhere, but we'll make this right for the dogs and the community.
Right now here in Plaquemines and over at the Orleans shelter, they're between 90 and 100% full with dogs. In fact, more strays are seen out during summertime because of the spring breeding season and because it's hot and more dogs are running loose than they are in the winter. So while doggy doors are closed, fans are running, and sprinkler playtime is up, they ask for you to foster or ideally to adopt.
We want to make sure that they get into a home, whether it be just for a week or a weekend if you're able. That will give them tons of stimulation. It will make all the difference in the world for that animal.
From Belle Chase, Meg Farris, WWL, Louisiana.
You no longer need a permit to carry a concealed weapon anywhere in Louisiana. That law went into effect a month ago, but because of a municipal code in New Orleans, it just became legal here. As Lily Cummings explains, business owners are already taking a stand against the new law.
As you're window shopping in the French Quarter, you may notice something new.
We are going to be putting up the signs. We're going to be putting up the signs in support of the NOPD, and we're going to be doing that because we do want people who don't carry and to come in. We want them to feel safe.
Ryan Tremonti says the no firearms signs will go up in his gallery for the safety of customers and staff.
This gives me a chance to sleep a little bit better knowing my employees are not having to deal with that while they're here.
The signs were made and distributed by the French Quarter Business Association and Cops 8, a nonprofit that supports district police. They remind folks that although anyone 18 or older who is not a convicted felon is allowed to carry a concealed firearm without a permit, as business owners, they can still prohibit them from carrying it onto their property.
We did speak to a couple of French Quarter businesses that say they won't be putting the signs up in their windows because they don't want to draw attention to their stores.
But at Pepper Palace on Decatur, they're proudly on display.
We actually received it in the mail within the past week or so and felt that it was important to display in our window because we certainly don't want any firearms in or around the store.
Despite a strong push from top tourism officials and business owners, lawmakers failed to create a carve-out for the French Quarter earlier this year. City leaders are still working on a loophole that would make the 8th District Police Station a vocational technical school. Under state law, guns are prohibited within 1,000 feet of schools. Until then, business owners say they hope folks will read and abide by the signs.
If there's someone in or around the store, I think I would probably just call NOPD, notify them that we have the sign posted and it's not being complied with, and kind of see where that goes.
In the French Quarter, Lily Cummings, WWL Louisiana.
For most people, gone are the days of popping a VHS tape into a VCR for a movie night at home. For people who don't know what those things are, those days probably never even existed. We take a look at a New Orleans business that is now rewinding people into the nostalgic past. Down an alley underneath the Mid-City New Orleans home on Bank Street. is a place that'll rewind you to the 90s.
It is a garage.
Eden Chubb is the owner, founder, and sole employee of Future Shock Video.
Video store proprietress. I think that's a great title.
Inside is a collection of about 2,000 VHS tapes, DVDs, and Blu-rays.
Plenty of crowd pleasers, classics, stuff like that.
All available to rent for a movie night at home that doesn't involve a streaming service or the internet.
I don't think physical media is actually as dead as people imagine that it is.
It was an idea that started about a year ago.
You definitely have to have a passion for it. No one's getting rich.
After about 6 months of collecting movies, Chubb opened her store 2 months ago.
I had heard about other video stores that were still around in the rest of the country, and they just weren't here.
Just more than 100 people have already signed up for their free membership. Rentals range from $1 to $3 per movie.
Week-long rental period.
You can even rent a VCR if you don't have one at home, but Chubb says that really hasn't been an issue.
Surprisingly, huge numbers of people still have VCRs and will rent tapes. It's about a third of our rentals.
As an illustrator professionally who doesn't like to get too caught up in the digital space,
this is our rewinder.
Chubb is an advocate for physical media. That's helped her open the door to this blast from the past.
I like people standing in the aisles having conversations about movies, or just debates or rants about movies, or just bringing their kids in who have never been to a video store before.
From horror flicks to cartoons for kids, Chubb has it covered, right down to the snacks.
I think it's actually fun to watch a tape where there are no ads for anything else other than other movies.
While it may seem outdated to some, to Chubb, there's nothing sweeter. Mike McDaniel, WWL, Louisiana. While pedophile priest Lawrence Hecker awaits trial on rape and kidnapping charges in New Orleans, one of his many alleged victims wonders why Hecker hasn't also been arrested in other parts of South Louisiana. Here's the latest David Hammer investigation, Losing Faith.
Each time we and our reporting partner, Ramon Antonio Vargas, exposed more evidence of a cover-up. Each time the Archdiocese of New Orleans tried to keep its records on child sexual abuse a secret. It struck a chord for Greg Livaday.
And I appreciate what you and Ramon are doing tremendously. A lot of people appreciate it. I know a lot of people follow you. Keep it up.
But recently, our stories exposing the church's sealed files on Father Lawrence Hecker have meant even more to Livaday.
I wanted Hecker to know that I remember. You hurt me.
He remembers the early 1970s. Livaday was an Eagle Scout. Hecker was the head of scouting for the Archdiocese of New Orleans. And he remembers Hecker grooming him.
We played handball, built up a good sweat and all like that. And afterwards, he suggested we go swim in their pool. Now, I didn't have any swimsuit. And he says, you don't need any. It's a saltwater pool, and you can only swim nude in it.
He remembers Hecker sending him this postcard from the 1973 National Scout Jamboree. Remembers Hecker giving him gifts.
He played one of those claw machines, and he got this ceramic ashtray in the shape of a hand shooting the middle finger, and he gave it to me as a gift, I mean, who gives a 15-year-old kid an ashtray of a hand shooting the middle finger? Weird.
And he remembers that gift in a whole new light now that the Louisiana State Police has launched a child sex trafficking investigation of the Archdiocese. The police allege in a search warrant that abuser priests often gave kids gifts as a signal to other abusers.
Tell me about what kind of ran through your mind when you saw that.
That's me. That's what he did to me.
Livaday says the abuse began on a weekend scouting retreat a couple weeks after he turned 16. He says it started at Hecker's church in Luling.
My father had dropped me off at the rectory on that Friday night. I had my own little sleeping room. He came in that night, abused me.
The next night at a scout camp in St. Francisville, he said it happened again.
And again, when I was sleeping, he came in, abused me.
Livaday remembers the sense of terror returning during their long drive home. Hecker decided to stop for the night at the Alamo Hotel in Baton Rouge.
I made it a point. I want to go home. I don't want to be here. He held me against my will, okay? He made me stay.
He also kept this letter sent by a girl a few weeks later, inviting him to a 50s dance. She wrote that Padre Hecker would pick him up. He didn't respond, and then he kept retreating from friends and family, and from the church he loved.
I'd go to church, okay? I never lost faith in God or my religious beliefs. You know, I did lose faith in how the Archdiocese was running the business of the church.
In April 2002, Livaday filed his complaint with the church. Livaday didn't know it at the time, but 3 years earlier, Hecker had given a statement to church officials admitting he had sex or inappropriate relations with at least 7 underage boys in the 1960s and 70s.
The same month Livaday complained, Hecker was allowed to quietly retire, with the church paying his living expenses and retirement benefits for the next 18 years.
Letting him live out his life, you know, in a nice apartment uptown or a retirement home or whatever, while I go through what I go through. I mean, where's his, it's a shame to say, but where's his suffering for it?
In 2021, Livaday filed criminal complaints in the 3 places where he claims Hecker abused him: in St. Charles Parish, West Feliciana Parish, and Baton Rouge.
Well, weeks went by, I didn't hear anything, and I emailed them back, and they all wrote back to me and says, no, the DA's not going to pursue anything.
But then last year, Orleans Parish District Attorney Jason Williams filed rape and kidnapping charges against Hecker in a different case. The New Orleans DA alleges Hecker held another boy against his will and raped him. Again, Livaday recognized himself in the story.
So I looked up what kidnapping was. I said, that's me. So I wrote back to the Baton Rouge police, and I said, I want to file charges for kidnapping and contributing to delinquency of a juvenile. And he wrote back and says, yeah, I remember you. Sorry we couldn't pursue your case. Have a great day. That's it.
That's why the victim in New Orleans isn't the only one with a personal stake in bringing Hecker to trial.
I'm looking at he's found guilty. Yeah, that he's found guilty, and he gets the maximum sentence. I know. So what? He's got what, 1, 2, 3 years left of life, compared to my 50. I'll take it.
By law, it's now too late to file criminal charges for any sexual abuse that took place in the 1970s, unless it was rape. But there's no statute of limitations for kidnapping. We asked the West Feliciana Sheriff and DA about the potential for a kidnapping charge there. The DA said, quote, "We addressed this case before and all matters have been resolved." We also asked the Baton Rouge police why they didn't respond to Livaday, and they didn't respond to us either.
For parts of New Orleans, finding a place to shop for groceries can be difficult, and now it might be getting harder. Some Dollar General stores are set to close. As Eleanor Tabone explains, residents are upset by their lack of choices.
Residents call for the Dollar General on Morrison Road to stay open.
Shame on you, Dollar General.
But it's not the only one closing. According to our partners at the Times-Picayune New Orleans Advocate, 5 outlets in New Orleans East and Gentilly are set to close. Closing signs plastered on the old Gentilly Road store.
Sometimes, Eleanor, the market makes changes that inconvenience a lot of people. But at the end of the day, that's also an opportunity for those who want to see the type of business that they want to see operated.
Councilman Eugene Green, whose district will see some of the stores close, says residents need to look on the bright side. He says the spaces could be used for something else.
For those who may want to use the spaces, create their own grocery stores, to build the businesses that they want to see happen, to invest.
Councilman Oliver Thomas, who's been a huge advocate for investing back into his district, New Orleans East, said anytime businesses are closing, families and jobs are affected. affected. There has to be an effort by the city and our business community to help those families and market those locations for compatible uses. Now, these are the 5 stores NOLA.com says are slated to close, but there are other grocery options, including 2 Walmarts and a Winn-Dixie.
With food access dwindling, people, they have limited resources, and so they have to seek out pantries.
Notori Green with the Broadmoor Food Pantry says the pantry is seeing more and more people needing food assistance. She says the closures could exacerbate the city's food desert crisis.
Having stores like Dollar General and the like be accessible in neighborhoods is important because it's in closer walking distance.
According to Dollar General's 2023 annual report, the franchise has close to 20,000 stores nationwide, with plans underway to open 800 more by the end of the year. The company racked up $38.7 billion in net sales in 2023. Eleanor Tabone, WWL, Louisiana.